we're here to lament days gone past, but also to celebrate the people who are involved, and also to celebrate what people like Eugene and Alan and Louise and Johnny are doing with the situation we all find ourselves in. Can you see this okay? You can see me now because I'm standing up, but if we sit down, can you see this okay? Right, if you might have to rise up on one because but we try to live up as much as possible. I just want to say, I realize a lot of people here tonight are also involved in this sort of work, and several people, of course, say hello to each other if you're not too tired. The other thing, we have questions that people have sent up, so we look to as many as we can get around. They're all very good questions too. And I think the question I would like to put to the producer of the program. Incidentally, it was Josh Eves, Frau was involved as well. Josh was the director, the film director. Johnny was the producer, and Johnny Clark. Johnny, congratulations. Could you tell us a little bit how the film came about in the first place? So why did you do this?
This is going to ask for Josh. Josh, I know you don't like to do this, but put your hand up over there so everyone can see your hand. Hey. Yeah, Josh did everything you see, he did really, you know. I wouldn't have a camera for that, so. But yeah, I mean, I suppose I touched on it at the beginning of the film. Before the film, I was just saying, we were there to run a conference for young peacemakers in Lebanon. We are trustees of a charity that's just received funding to build a peace center in the south of Lebanon. And I believe that these kind of centers, like Corrymeela or Ancud or even the monks in Ostrava, these spaces can be places of healing. You know, people can get away from the greenhouses they live in. So we were in Lebanon and just talking about peace and hope and war, and also about religion and how we both share faith. And we share faith, but we're very aware of how often wars are fought in the name of God or God. And the question is, do we stand idly by, or do we do something about it? And I suppose that quote from Jonathan Sacks, I read out at the beginning of the film. I had given my dad Jonathan Sacks' book, The Dignity of Difference, 20 years ago. A couple of years later, my dad passed away in 2004, and when he died, I went through his book and I found a wee scribbled piece of paper with his favorite quotes. And his favorite quote always stuck with me. After the Enlightenment, people thought religion would become mute, marginal, and mild. It won't. Religion is fire. Like fire, it warms, but it also burns, and we are the guardians of the flame. And so that became the kind of the reason why we called the film that name. We find heroic people who embody life and faith, and that is about building bridges and peacemaking instead of walls. And I think Eugene, Alan McBride, and Beryl Quigley can all agree are really heroic people who have shown us all how do we live in this community in a way that doesn't make it worse, but actually heals the world instead of making it more damage. So I think we should give them a round of applause.
Thanks, Johnny. And I'm looking forward to having a chat with Alan and Eugene very shortly. I'm delighted to meet up with and to welcome to the event Reverend Louise, Donald, and Louise, I met you last night for the first time. I've heard a lot about you. You do great work in connecting up with people and with people. Tell us a little bit briefly how you grew up. did you grow up in a Catholic or a Protestant family, or what sort of family did you grow up in?
Well, no, I was 11 or 12 years of age before I even knew there were such things as Catholics and Protestants. I was brought up in an environment where there was no labels, people were people, and they were all treated the same. And I remember at school one day, there was a young girl brought in and she stood at the front of the class, and I mean, horrifyingly, the teacher said to all of us, "This is Catherine, and she's a Catholic, and you don't treat her any differently." And my mother was doing the dishes, and I said to her, "Wait, in school today, there was a girl they said was a Catholic, and there's Catholics and Protestants, and I can still see her now." She looked at me and said, "We don't do labels, people are people," and I don't want to hear that again. So it was never a part of my upbringing. I was very blessed. I grew up in Bangor, so really, I suppose the first time the troubles really touched my life was whenever I was a nurse. I nursed for 30 years, but I was a nurse on the night of the Le Mans bombing. And two people were admitted to my ward that night from the Le Mans house. The bombing. And the word was coming upstairs to us of, them hosing down the remains in the ambulances, and the ambulance men and police in tears, and which is understandable. We'd known nothing like that. And then the next morning, it just so happened the two bedrooms that were available, the two wardrooms, were side by side. And the next morning, a minister arrived and asked me would I go in with him to one survivor, for he had to tell him that their beloved partner had died. So I went in with, and the next thing, he had long gone when the priest arrived to go into the room aside and bring that tragic news to this other person. And I suppose, I just thought to myself, what is this all about? The tears, the anguish, the horror, and these were people guilty only of loving dogs. They were at a doggy club Christmas dinner. That was all they had been doing. And on that night, one of my friends, one of the group that we all hung about with, he was at that dinner with his wife, and he got out and realised his wife wasn't with him and went back in, and the both of them died that night. And this is the third time I've seen this film, and I have to tell you, it humbles me, the compassion and the courage of Alan and Eugene and Beryl Quigley. Alan and Eugene have been at the last two showings that the last time and this time. And I know myself that I cannot go into the One House Hotel. I haven't been able to. I tried once and I couldn't. And it still sends shivers up my back. And that wasn't personal to me. So I can't imagine the courage and the compassion for our society that these gentlemen have and that Beryl has, that they can sit and hear these stories be told in the depth of anguish that they've gone through. So it's a privilege to be able to, in a small way, help to draw people together, because I follow Jesus, the storyteller, Jesus of the Gospels, who took his disciples across all divisions and divides, and whose love extends to all people. And for me, that's the journey that I preach and that I try my best to practice as best as I can.
Thanks, Louise. That night, a terrible night, the experience of that as a nurse, did that affect or guide your onward journey towards who you are today in any way?
Well, I think, I've always tried to engage with people who are working on things which are inclusive of people and which are about able to have the space to hear other people's stories and help them move past labels to see mothers and daughters and sons and wives and mothers and children and grandchildren. And I mean, I now have grandchildren. I was widowed whenever my son was 3.5, and I wasn't through bombing, it was a car crash, so I do understand sudden death and becoming a young widow. And I suppose so the healing and the moving forward and the wanting the best for your children and your grandchildren, and some of you may have great grandchildren. I mean, to me, we have to work towards the future and help others work towards the future where we can agree to disagree with respect and still walk hand in hand in life for a better society and peace and justice and mercy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, Louise. Before I turn to Eugene and Alan, I've been in their company before, and sometimes the stories are so sad, and people have been so sad, but the spirit of both of these people actually cheered up the crowd, because I don't know how it happens, but the spirit that comes with the two of you, whenever you get into arguments. But you know, something I want to ask you, Alan, and I never got a chance before. Your wife, what was she like? What sort of a lady was she? Where did you meet her?
So I met her at church actually. I was involved with the Boys Brigade. It's a church-based uniformed organisation. Sharon worked in the Enter Boys, which looked after the little kids from 2 years old to I think it's 7 years old. And I went through the ranks of the Boys Brigade, and I became an officer, and I was seconded to work with the Anchor Boys, and I met Sharon there. But it wasn't until I became a Christian myself, actually, when I was 19. And up at that point, I'd been going most nights, probably to, well, most weekends anyway, to the King Arthur in town, so a big sort of disco place we used to go to as kids. And then when I became a Christian, I didn't do that anymore, and needed something to do on Saturday night, so I met Sharon, and she became my Saturday night thing for years. She actually worked in the health service, and she felt she helped her father out in the fish shop business once a month. But she was also a musician herself. She played guitar and sang in a little band called New Foundation, and they were going around churches in the Shankill and in North and West Belfast most weekends actually, and I would carry her guitar case into the meetings, and like a groupie almost, or a roadie, not a groupie, it's fine. Roadie, and I met her at church, and she was like,
Have you any recordings of her?
I have one. I was just sharing with Tommy earlier actually. So many years ago, she took part in an open air gospel sort of meeting in the Green in Carrickfergus in front of the castle. And so there's no footage I have somewhere in the house of her singing. I left it away because I always thought I'd let Zoe see it. And of course, the times we got to look at it, we wouldn't have video recorders and VHS. So I needed transferred onto something that you could play it on. So I must leave it out actually and have a look at it. She knows beautiful voice actually. The four girls in the band did just really nice families. So yeah, she's I have no reason to talent whatsoever, but she's good.
Wonderful. I know Eugene, again, your brothers are very well known in their pictures, and the sadness that surrounds all that. What were they like? What sort of lads were they? Eugene, what sort of brothers?
Well, like everybody was just ordinary because John Martin was 24 and did he hear? John Martin, he was 24 and he was a bricklayer, and he used to come home every night with all these yarns and cracks from the inside home. He didn't have a girlfriend, he was in a relationship with a young girl and finished up, and he was always there for the take mommy and daddy away when they wanted to go. Everyone everybody had a car, and there was nobody else in the company hardly had a car, but they worked hard. Now they had them up every morning at 6 o'clock or 5:30. There was no mess. They had it all day and kept their trades. So Brian, he was 24, and he was a joiner, and again he had a bill. Brian was a great sportsman. He was the 100 yards champion. He was the 440. He was the mile champion. He had played football for Armagh on the 21s and minors. He broke his leg one time over in Green Moor, and he had it patched up, and we were back home again in the White Cross, and it was Green Moor's turn for the moment to play us in the second leg. And the same boy that broke his leg the first time broke it again.
The same leg.
Same leg. So I can tell you, it was a bit of a rumpus. That's a real quick. But Brian was to be married on the 14th of August 1976. And his girlfriend, Alice Campbell, she was from Cullerbale, and she was out at the Miami Chauvin massacre and brought those bodies all in, and she nursed Stephen Travers back to good health. She also had her own bride. He was brought in, and she was just coming on duty, and they got her stopped. Some of the sisters got out from the point. She walked in and seen him. And poor Alice then, on the 14th of August, she was up in the graveyard with my father and my brother and a couple of my wee sisters. And they were putting flowers on the grave because she was being married that morning. And there were two sets of soldiers come into the graveyard. There was one come in there was the paratroopers, and he got it, and they were the Royal Marines. And seemed to be drunk or very high on drugs or something. They were very nasty. But then when they got onto the road, he was questioning them again to see about this, that, the other, telling them that his brothers would have been shot and we would have gone in the IRA and all that sort of nonsense. But there was 12 wee girls walking down the road, 14th of August 1976. And we're going to confessions, and they're all skipping along. And this soldier, a big heavy gun, and it takes 40 pounds of pressure for him to pull that trigger. And he said that his finger slipped and he shot her in the back. So Alice got out of the car and tried to run down for him to give her some help, but the soldiers wouldn't let her move. And eventually, she got down, and she turned me the jet over her holding all out. And so Alice took her coat off and got up, and as much as she could get up and put it all around her. And so the helicopter landed then, and then we fired the wee girl up into the helicopter, and her legs hanging out, and her whole insides hanging out the side. So Alice got into the helicopter, and she was dangling out too, and she had to get these legs all pulled in. And this big soldier, his arm across her back, stopping her breathing. And Alice had to punch him. But somewhere along the way, the wee girl passed away. So that's a girl that nobody knows anything about, and like that was some trauma for they had to go through and to live with it. And that's one of the people that nobody ever hears about, you know? So, like, the rest of us, it's very difficult for me to live with all of that, you know? And you just have to get on with it, and thank God that my father, you know, just after the shooting, he appealed for no retaliation, and he said that if the death of his sons prevented one more person from it, then he would not have died in vain. And just when he was on the TV telling that story, or giving that interview, was the King's Mills people murdered over the road, 1 minute from our house. And you know, everybody knows all about the King's Mills people, so that's what you have to live with, and you have to get on with it. So Daddy was a very fair man, you know. He would let me up to a certain point, but when he said no, there was no more. That was it. You weren't going. But
Eugene, you mentioned the cello here, and so many people indeed who were killed and almost forgotten. And people here tonight who have relatives and loved ones dead too. Alan, you've been involved very much in the legacy, the justice for victims, and that type of thing. How important is it to acknowledge pain, or to acknowledge the hurt that the other side have suffered as well as one's own?
I think it's extremely important, and I've often said that if we could get to the point in this society where, you know, we could acknowledge the hurt and the pain that was caused to each other. I can remember a mural on the Donard Road. I think we still there to this day. I didn't live too far from Donard Road, and on this mural, it's a lot of little signposts. And all the signposts have an atrocity on them. It's about remember Enniskillen, remember Lamon, remember the Abercorn, remember the Shankill Bomb, remember this, remember that. And all the things that they're remembering is all what the IRA did to Protestants. And there's nowhere on that gable wall that's remembering what loyalists did to Roman Catholics or to Republicans. And I think that is probably the same in the other community, where we always tend to remember what happened to us, but we very conveniently forget what we did to them. And I think until we start to collectively remember the fact that people died in this society, it doesn't really matter who you were or what you were. At the end of the day, the hurt and the pain came to your door, and I think as such it needs to be remembered. So I think if we were to start there, where people, politics is included, rather than playing whataboutery with atrocities, that they could stand up and acknowledge the hurt and the pain that was inflicted, that perhaps then we would be in a better place to start to listen to each other's stories. Because as a society, one of the things that I'm increasingly concerned about is that I think we tend to be going backwards. Certainly relationships, hostilities, anger, fear. I mean, these are things that I would have thought, 25 years on from the Good Friday Agreement, that we would have started to put behind us, but of course they're not behind us, and we have just seen the run up to the election with the rallies around the protocol, and I was actually there the day that, and I thought it was something I would never ever see again in my lifetime. I was on a panel the day that Senator Coveney had to be escorted out of Holy Cross Chapel at Ardonning because the UVF had hijacked a van and driven into the grounds of the chapel with a Hopes bomb on it, and he had to be escorted out. And I thought that we had left those days behind us, and we haven't. And let's never be complacent with the peace that we've achieved here over the years in the Good Friday Agreement, because I tell you, it's hard won and it's very easily lost. And I think as a society we need to stand up, no matter who we are, no matter where we're from, no matter who did what to who, and call it out and try to, when I think, and I tell this story all the time about what happened in my neighbour's garden that night in the 11th July when he built the bonfire for me. I mean, that is, for me, the kind of society that we could have where, where culture and tradition could be mutually celebrated. But to do that, it takes us to have a complete change of mind and change of heart, to be able to accept that each other, that it's okay that everybody has the right to exist and the right to live together. And one of the things that I didn't actually say in the video that is really an abiding memory with me that day, at bonfire in my neighbour's garden, and we laughed and we told stories and we drank beer. It was the fact that my daughter was playing in the garden with her two little Catholic friends from across the street. And it was the sound of their laughter. There's nothing more beautiful than the sound of kids laughing and playing and having a good time. Little Catholic girls and little Protestant girls. And if that's not a vision of the Northern Ireland or the North of Ireland, call it what you will, that we want to be part of, well then I wish you would leave, go in and take your hatred and your lie and your vengeance and take it somewhere else, because I don't want my kids to be afflicted by it.
The third controversy, just one of the questions here was, what can ordinary people do to help the situation move forward? Maybe you would also take Eugene after.
Well, I was involved in a campaign many years ago called One Small Step. And the One Small Step campaign was simply asking people to take small steps towards peace and reconciliation, because most of us live in communities and live in families, and most of us don't get involved in the big politics. We're not involved as politicians making decisions. We're not involved in those big macro issues that need to happen in all societies. But we all have the ability to influence people, be it one person at a time. And so if you're in a company and the next time you hear a sectarian joke, or you hear somebody being unkind to somebody else because of their religion or the colour of their skin or because of the particular food they kick with or whatever, stand up and call it out, because it's not the kind of society that we want to be part of. And I suppose that's the big question for people to address for themselves. What kind of society is it? I call myself a unionist. I'm from a unionist community. I haven't voted for a unionist party in years, simply because there's no unionist party that represents the kind of broad-minded, forward-thinking, progressive politics that I want to be part of. And when I think about things, and I'll shut up at this because I've probably gone a wee bit, because I do believe that I want to live in a society that says that's a all of that, and one that says that's a none of that. So, for example, in the organisation that I work for, and I used to work for the YMCA before I worked for it, and both of them have very similar policies around football shirts. We don't allow our young people to wear a Rangers top or a Celtic top because we don't want either side to be offended because of the football top that the other kid is wearing. And whilst that's probably relevant today because we don't want to have fights and we don't have quarrels and all the rest of it, but wouldn't it be wonderful to live in a society where it's actually okay to wear a Rangers top if that's what you want to wear, or a Celtic top if that's what you want to wear? Because the other day, they're just football tops, they're just shirts, they're just opinions, they're just, and what we need to do in a society is not to say we can't have any of that, but what we need to do is to have the respect that actually says that it's okay. And I would love to know, by the way, flags is a big issue, huge issue in Belfast, when the Union flag came down. And I've been on record as saying, I would love to live in a society where it's actually okay to fly the Union flag on particular days in the year where it's relevant to unions. But equally, that it's probably okay to fly the Irish national flag when it's a particular day in the year that is relevant to Irish nationalists. Or indeed, we have a huge Polish community amongst us. What would be so wrong with flying the Polish flag on certain days when it actually is important to Polish people, or the Chinese flag when it's important to Chinese? Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to build here, I hope, is a society of neighbours. And I know your song, Tommy, about, we're not strangers here, or, Ireland strangers. That to me captures the kind of what I want to be part of. But to do that, we need to reach out and we need to have these kinds of gestures in order to encourage this sense of neighbourliness. That's not what I see at the moment. I see more and more and more hostility. And I'm concerned for myself, I'm concerned for my daughter, because it is a million miles from the Good Friday Agreement and what I voted for back in the day.
The more we hear from people like you and Eugene in films like this, the more hope ordinary people can have. And Eugene, just dealing with the same, what can people do?
Well, I know one thing I can do, and one thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop this one going down out bowling something that would make.
Or you can come with me. That's what I'd like you to do.
But Alan and I and Stephen Farmers and a few of us had an organisation called TAR, Truth and Reconciliation Platform, and we were around the country speaking to people, and we all shared platform. It's never moving one way or another, and you know, as we say that in the film, we don't need to change our views on that's when we're out speaking, because if you're telling your own story, and you have to tell it as it is, it doesn't matter, you know, if you think that you're offending anybody. All you're doing is telling the truth, and you're asking people to believe that truth. And they're all different, these stories, but they're also all very, very horrible stories. So it's hard work, and you need to be kept at it. And there's a lot of people afraid to say that they're all for reconciliation in their own communities. I remember after everybody was shot out on a football match one day up in Colorado, and there was a certain gentleman who over to me. He was around here at the bottom of the table as usual, and he says to me, "You should be ashamed of yourself." Well, I says, "Why?" He says, "Well, you had 3 brothers died, and you wouldn't join the IRA." I said, "Yes, that's right. I had 3 brothers wounded, and I never even give that a second thought. Because, I mean, what is the sense of that? You know, like, the night after my brothers was killed, I ran into the Kingsman's massacre. I was the first person coming from the Big Cross side to be there. So, I mean, I've seen these tired bodies on the road. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's very easy for people to be pro on their own doctor sometimes if they have to mix with people and that they will see it in a different world.
Thanks, Eugene. Another question here, does religion not divide people? Is religion good or bad, more or less? What do you think, Louise, how do you answer the question like that?
I'm sorry. Well, and this is just my expression of what I think. I think that there is Northern Ireland religion, which there's virtually much of, and it doesn't follow Jesus from my reading of the Jesus that I follow in the Gospels. And then there's Christianity, which is the people who are following Jesus of the Gospels. And from my perspective, sorry, I just put a street on my phone. And that's just from my perspective. I mean, I left the church at 11 and was a prodigal till I was 32, and then had an experience of Jesus. So I am not really church brought up as such, and nursed for 30 odd years before the call to ministry, which I'm now doing in 16 years. And sadly, the churches do have to, I believe, we have to acknowledge and lament the fact that we let people down too. We let our people down. We allowed divisions or we said nothing. And I can't speak for everybody, but from my perspective, I really wish that I could see more of Jesus and hear more of Jesus than of labels and organisations. I mean, Eugene has been telling about the brothers. I didn't realise that Eugene was the first to come on the Kingsmill massacre. But I am the minister of Westbrook Methodist Church, and I am ministering to people whose families, who lost members of their families in the Kingsmill massacre. And today, it's as raw as it was, I'm sure, when they got the knock on the door. And I mean, the truth and reconciliation, you know, like Beryl said there in the movie, you know, we're not going to get justice in heaven, but you know, it's not our land or their land. And we've been given stewardship of the most beautiful creation, and we live on the most beautiful island, and I can look at south and north, among the most beautiful people. And it breaks my heart to hear that people have gone through the anguish of these gentlemen, and many more who rightly we don't hear about. It's a real anguish that there are still the disappeared. But I'm just one wee person, and I've just been called to follow Jesus. And it's a privilege to have met Johnny and so Fran, etc., to have been able to help to put together an event like this in Armagh, an event like this here in the Canal Court in Thursday, just to do a wee bit.
But you do a big bit. You know, I was just thinking while you were speaking there. Remember, I used to do a radio program for 4 years, so downtown radio. But one Christmas, I decided to get all the political and religious leaders together, and it was 79 or in around that time. But none of them wanted to talk together at that time. And usually Christmas is the time when Christians tend to get together. But some of the Christians didn't want to get together for this particular program. But I remember, I would brought them all individually and I interviewed them all individually. I remember going up to Reverend Ian Paisley, and remember, I was a bit nervous because I saw this big man shouting about the TV. And his wife came in and she says, "You're not in, he's away doing the news. So come on in anyway," says she, and you can watch it. So I watched the man on the television of the man who was in news, but eventually, I waited a while, but I could hear these steps coming down the corridor. And I opened the door and she says, "He's coming." And the biggest man I'd ever seen in my life stood at the door. And he says, "What will you have me to do, friend?" I says, "Well, I was thinking of," he said, "I don't want to talk about religion or politics." And he looked at me like I was in the toilet by a nun. And I says, "I just want you to sing a song or tell a story." And he started to tell stories. And he gave a ha-ha after each story, and with every ha, I could see the power that man had to influence people. And I thought that if he changed, or if he did something, people would follow him. But he told one story about, he says, "Who else is on this program?" I said, "The Cardinal to be Archbishop of Slieve." "Well, I won't be speaking to that gentleman." "Who else?" "Authority." Which he did. And he says, "Well, he put us on." He says, "As you know, I'm an unconverted jailbird. And the first time I went to prison, the prison doctor examined me from head to toe and he says, 'You're fit.' I says, 'No, I'm Paisley.'" But away I went with the tape recorder down to the Archbishop to be Cardinal of Slieve, Thomas. And he met me at the door with a kid made a function in a glass of brandy. And he says, what's your little man in this place? And I thought at that moment, these people didn't know each other. These were church Christian leaders. They never met each other. And I realized there's something seriously wrong. People don't go to each other's churches. We're Christians, but we don't go to another Christian church in case we might be seen going ahead. I know you're different, you move around this. But anyway, says the cardinal, or to be Archbishop, he says, what's that? He says, we told jokes. He didn't get too bad, we told jokes. Give us one of them. So I turn on the tape recorder. And there's another one where Pezzi was saying, he says, once upon a time there was a priest and a rabbi met at a wedding. And the priest said in a very loud voice, Rabbi, when are you going to become liberal and eat the flesh of pig? And the rabbi was very quick on the party, and he says, Father, at your wedding. So the Archbishop to be Cardinal O'Fee threw back his head and he laughed loudly. And then he sang the Orange Flute. But the idea of so important to get together and meet each other and feel each other beyond words even. And I know, Johnny, that's what you've been doing with this film. And how important is it, as you see it, after making a film like this, to get people together?
Yeah, I was, this microphone, or is it just me sounding? Feedback. It's so important to bring people together. You know, I've been involved in recovery with Tommy and Katrine, running interfaith gatherings. We mentioned in the film this higher quality of disagreement. When I've taken on a new job at Carmela, and one of the first things I kind of inherited was a project to do an interfaith weekend. And no one really knew whose idea it was. It was just down there. We had to do it. So I thought, well, we'll do that then. I've done that before. I went and chatted to Naomi Green, so we sometimes hear her on Thought for the Day. A brilliant Muslim spokesperson for the Muslim community in Belfast. So I said, Naomi, what should we do? And she said, well, I think a lot of these interfaith things are always just a bunch of men come together, and if you want to get women, especially Muslim women, you need to bring kids. So we thought we'd do a interfaith family weekend, and there's about 40 odd people up at Carmel. My boys came. By the end of the weekend, my 15-year-old son was best friends with this Syrian kid, Bada. They were just thick as thieves, going everywhere together. Very similar personalities. JJ's my son's a very unique kind of guy. You see that we belong to each other. We've got different stories, different backgrounds, so many reasons why we could be separate, but actually coming together is something very beautiful in that. And I think maybe that's what true religion is. You know, talking about religion, you know, I sometimes get uncomfortable, although I am a good living for a living, as they say. You know, I had a brilliant thought there, just flew away. It's just gone away somewhere. Maybe that was meant to be. But yeah, no, I mean, I've met all kinds of people on the way. And I think the way is where we're going to be, you know? And the way is, there's room for all of us there. It's like that the circle be wide, you know? And the way be wide is my kind of way of thinking of this.
Thanks, Johnny. Well, I see I'm getting some signs from over there that we have to wind up this. Well, I just want to ask one more question to Eugene and Alan. And I mean, that story, Alan, about the bonfire in the car. In fact, it's so many things. How important or small?
I totally even the politics of gestures. I think sometimes there are missed opportunities all over the camp, in all sorts of ways, by all sorts of parties, and I think when we miss them, we, if we could do them, I think we could just send a very, very powerful message. I would encourage our politicians to embrace the other, because I think in embracing the other, that's where it's at. We can't go on living the way the animosity and the hatred and I just fed up with it, I guess, so whatever it takes, no matter whether it's just offering someone a small glass of wine. But a big gesture, I think could be made by Sinn Féin, actually. I mean, they've, as you know, become the largest party, and Michelle Levi is the first minister, or will be the first minister when they get around to put the assembly together. And I've noticed just on Twitter and on Facebook, unionists and lawyers referring to Jeffrey Donaldson as the joint first minister. They never would have described Michelle Levi like that before they switched places. And I think it would be lovely and certainly transform, I think, that toxic title of First Minister, Deputy First Minister, if Sinn Féin were to voluntarily say that we want to be known as the office of the two First Ministers, because I think it takes toxicity. That would be a gesture I think could happen pretty swiftly, and I think that in doing so, Sinn Féin would be reaching out the hand of friendship. We could argue that they didn't need to do that because it hasn't been exactly shown to them, and I get that. But sometimes, the cycle of hatred and distrust somebody has to break it, and maybe that's an opportunity to break it.
Eugene, I just want to go back to you briefly. That story you told about your mother lighting a candle for the people who shot your brothers. I remember going to the funeral, your mother's funeral, and I couldn't get near the place where just hundreds and hundreds of cars and all the roads around it. And she made such an impression coming out of that terrible pain that she was in.
Well, she had wait that night, and the boys there was two columns, and Daddy and my mother sat in the middle, and shook hands with everybody that came into the house. But for 3 days, they never moved out of there. And she wouldn't have the bed or nothing. She wanted to know who all the young people were, and where they were from, and how did they know the boys. And, like coming when you're hold me, hold you up. But anyway, half the boys' dog was very, she used to get the Irish news every morning. And she was the scourge of me and Frank. If there was a wake anywhere within 30 or 40 mile radius, we had to go. And she wouldn't stay for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. You were very lucky if you got her in 2 hours, sometimes 1 hour longer. But the people that trying to visit and they sympathize with, they've got a great lift from her coming, because no matter how bad a lot of these other folks' bereavement it wasn't as bad as hers. And she was a great woman for me going to the Women's Institute and that. And it wouldn't matter who died, Gladys would have around, she would away the wakes and funerals. Like, there were a lot of the ministers used to come and visit her. The Reverend Nixon from Bestford, I remember him, he was in Bestford. He got a lot of abuse when he was there, and he had to move away after the shootings at King's Mills. And I remember him telling me that when they first got the King's Mills, people were buried. And what he said in these bit of a speech that he made was that the people that shot the Reavey brothers may as well have shot the people at King's Mills. But they didn't, like the congregation took that very badly, and the minister and his wife was very, very badly abused, so the windows broken, telephone calls and letters and everything, and shit, but you have to do it. That's one thing that you have to do. And do you know, coming from somebody that has had a tragedy in Russia, once you put your hand out to somebody from the other side, it disarms them. You know, whatever notion that if you can reach out and shake hands with them, some sort of a chat with them, you know, it breaks the water, and that's what you have to do. We had a week, like we're talking there about people not knowing each other. When I started up that group, I thought to myself, I'm going to get the school kids now interested in this. And I went around and I visited 8 schools. There was an awful lot of people more there in all that home. Like there was a couple of people more in a very short distance. And very, very few of the teachers in the Protestant schools knew the teachers in the Catholic schools and vice versa. And I thought that day had been over long ago. So I started off and I thought to myself, how am I going to get this to work? So, people that's on the school's boards, if you don't get them for the buy-in situation, they can stop anything that you're doing. So I had to go around to them, and I had to go around to farms that had a good water colour on the way. I had a stake in society, and I met the men that was in the GAA and the soccer and the rugby, and I got them all to agree that we would try to get the school kids next. And I took them to Balmore and show maybe 300 of them at a time. And I took them up to Taylor in County Meath, all different places. But all I wanted them for to be able to do was, when they left primary school, if they were going on the bus down into Newry or wherever they were going to, if they seen Alan on the bus, at least they would know who he was and they could speak to him. And that would break the ice. And you know, that was a great success. And all the teachers and fair play to them, they all bought into that. There wasn't one teacher said no. But you know, as any teachers here, you will know that if you're running any of them school projects, you have to send a letter home, and the parents have to agree to this, that, or the other. One of the questions was, do you want me included in a group photo? And some of them said no. And then you were stupid then, you know, if you were trying to really push what you were doing. But we eventually kept them all up and got everybody in. But then when COVID came up to an end, that hopefully we'll get some funding next year and we'll start again.
Great, PG. Well, what you're doing is great, and it's delight to see yourself now and the leads. And I look forward to meeting you more down the road with. And I'll hand back to Johnny there.
Well, it's been a long evening. Thanks for sitting here, but I think we'll all agree that's great voices here to listen to. And we just want to finish by hearing just a couple of songs, just to kind of, in a way, bring it into the evening. So, what are we going to do? We're going to make these tables.
Tony, maybe have you go ahead and feel very lonely? Hold on, and I'll sing when you help me out in the chorus of you. The Methodist tradition, it's a great tradition for singing, I know that. which will how the church. You know, it's a funny thing. I had a dream one night, it's sort of a nightmare. It was I heard all these marching bands going in different directions, playing well-known tunes. And I couldn't sleep for a long time because it seemed to clash all the time. And then slowly they all began to melt together and I fell asleep. And I woke up the next morning, well rested with a song. Because all these melodies somehow came together. Take it off here. Last night I had the slightest key. I rode a rare nightmare across the land where marching bands had marching tunes to share. The music notes said to go to better get along and woke me in the morning with the meaning of the song. It was old and it was beautiful. As the shades of night came down, but in the morning a brand new song echoed all around. God save us all, our children, they now sing when you rephrase. Respect each other's rights and we'll unite the human race. Sing songs like this song is a bit mixed up, and that I know is true. But you and I, you can't deny, we are mixed up too. God save us all, but down the years, there's bits rubbed off each way. And if you think you're not mixed up, then try this new refrain. It's was beautiful as the shades of night came down. But in the morning, a brand new song echoes all around. God save us all, our children, they now do rephrase. Respect each other's rights and we unite the human race. Circle be wide on the fine side, and we'll soon make room for you. Let your heart have no fear, for there's no strangers here, just friends that you met from you. Shake the hand of a man from the far distant land, meet him and treat him well. And this young girl so fair, who's sitting on that chair, she's got a story to tell. So let the circle be wide round the fireside, and we'll soon make room for you. Let your heart have no fear, for there's no strangers here, just friends that you never knew. We will travel on the wings of the sun, with a mind that's open and free. If we close our eyes to the other side, we're just half of what we could be. So let the circle be wide round the fireside, and we'll soon make room for you. Let your heart have no fear, for there's no strangers here, just friends that you never knew. There are songs to be sung, there are rafters to be rung, there is reason to rouse in your bowl. There are stories of old, and there's new ones to be told, for you carry away when you go. So let the circle be wide round the fireside, and we'll soon make room for you. Let your heart have no fear, for there's no strangers here, just friends that you never knew. That's for a sing song. Pass the pot around and we drink another round, but our friendship will always remain. For how can you tell when we say our farewells? When will we all meet again here in Newcastle? So let the circle be wide round the fireside, make room for you. Let your heart have no fear, for there's no strangers here, just friends that you never knew. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
What?
Thomas.